Hi everyone, welcome to my sourdough pizza video. I'm really happy to be showing this to you. I've had a lot of requests for sourdough pizza video, so here it is. I'm making this pizza in this video with whole wheat flour, but you can use any wheat flour you like. You can use bread flour, all-purpose flour, a combination of whole wheat and bread flour. As long as it's a wheat flour and it's got a bit of gluten and stretch in it, it's going to work fine. I'm just using whole wheat flour because I mill my own grain and that's just what I use these days. So it's a really easy recipe. I just start off with 350 grams of flour, which is about 2 1/3 metric cups. You can make your pizza any size you like, and really this is just a simple lean sourdough bread dough that I just make a smaller version of for my pizza. So you could make a really big bread dough and just take a portion off to make a smaller pizza if you wanted to, but this is just the size that we use for our large pizza. So yeah, 350 grams of flour, and to that I add 280 grams or 1 1/8 roughly metric cups of water. If you're using bread flour or all-purpose flour in your mix, just use 1 cup of water. With whole wheat flour, because of the bran and everything in the flour, it will soak up more water. Now, to make this dough, I am starting off with an Autolyse, which is just a pre-soaking of the flour and the water together before I add any salt or sourdough starter. This is completely optional. Just skip this step if you want to and just mix everything in from the beginning. I'm just doing this because with my whole wheat flour, I find that the pre-soaking really does bring out the sweetness and a really good flavour in the dough. So I just do that. So for the Autolyse, you just let those two, the flour and the water, mix, and they rest for about an hour, and then you mix in the starter and the salt. So that's soaked for an hour now, and I'm adding in my starter. That's my starter there, and you can see it's really active and healthy. It's been refreshed pretty recently. I add in about 2/3 of a cup. You can see the starter is fairly stiff. If your starter is a bit thinner than mine, you might want to add less water into your recipe, or use less starter. As long as you use about 1/2 cup at least, that will be fine. And as long as your starter is really healthy too, that's an important factor. It has to be really active and ready to go. So I just mix in my starter first a little bit just before I add the salt. And with salt, we're using, for this amount of flour, 1 scant metric teaspoon, so about 6 grams. And I just mix that in now. So you don't need to knead this dough. I'm just kneading this because I need to use some form of method to really mix through the starter and the salt. Obviously, if you had have added everything into the beginning and you skipped that soaking stage, it wouldn't be so hard to mix in the starter and the salt because you'd just be mixing that all from the beginning. But I do need to knead that in fairly thoroughly to make sure it's incorporated really well throughout the dough. So it's only a couple of minutes kneading. As I said, yeah, you don't have to knead this dough. This is just a mixing strategy. And there's the dough. It's lovely and soft and extensible. Once it's kneaded and you feel like you've got everything mixed pretty well, just pop it into a bowl and cover it up, and then we'll start the fermentation. So I started this dough about mid-morning on a Saturday, and I leave it for about 4 to 8 hours and then bake the pizza in the evening. So leave it to ferment for 8 hours. Obviously that's going to be different in hot weather. It's going to be faster, and in cold weather it'll be slower. And then also with this dough, another good trick is just to stretch and fold it through the day. So I'm just demonstrating what that is here. I stretch and fold this dough a couple of times through the day, and what that does is just helps the dough to get a bit more strength and structure. It also helps to develop the gluten network, that stretchiness in the dough. So yeah, just do that a few times through the day if you can, but if you can't, that's not a big deal either. You can sort of do it at the end and you'll still make really good pizza. This is just demonstrating another stretch and fold. Just wet your hands, grab the dough, pull it up and just sort of fold it over itself. Be be fairly gentle with it. You can see I'm kind of really pulling it up there because it's quite firm with my wheat. Your dough might be different if you're using different flour. So this is at the end of the day. You can see the dough has really risen up. The bulk fermentation is complete for me at that point. When I see big bubbles like that, I know that I've gone far enough. And I just do one more final stretch and fold before assembling the pizza. And this is really just to firm up the dough again, bring it into a ball shape and get it ready to shape into the pizza shape. So that's just a final gentle stretch and fold. And then I just set that aside while I get my pizza tray ready. This is the point too when you want to turn on your oven. So turn on your oven to 250 Celsius or 480 Fahrenheit. Make sure that's preheating while you're getting your pizza ready. This stuff here that I'm using is just a little homemade pan release mixture that I use. It is wonderful. It just saves me buying cooking spray. It's basically coconut oil, a bit of rice flour and soy lecithin that's blended up. I'll put a recipe in the description box. Nothing sticks to this stuff. It's brilliant. I used to use non-stick baking paper for my pizza, but I don't use that anymore. I bought this commercial pizza tray and I grease that up and it works brilliantly and it saves wasting paper. So now you're ready to assemble the pizza. This is the fun part. I just drizzle some olive oil over the dough and get my spatula and try and release the dough a little bit from the bowl and get some oil under there so it comes out easily. And get your tray or your paper or whatever you're putting your pizza on. You can really heavily dust a peel and put it into the oven that way, like the traditional way, but I find that I'm just not so good at it, so I just put it on a tray and that way my pizza never goes out of shape and it kind of works for me. So this is kind of a cheats method. This is an easy way to do it. And now, I'm sorry this is out of shot a little bit, but I pretty much just pick up the dough and really gently just sort of pull it into shape. And I kind of flip it around and let gravity help out a little bit and just sort of pull it out where I feel the thick parts. And then once it's getting a bit too big to handle, I plonk it onto the tray and then I spread it out from there. So yeah, please go easy on me. I'm not a pizza expert. This is just how I do it. And I had so many people asking me, how do you make your pizza? It looks so great. Well, this is how I do it. So yeah, I just go around and spread the dough out. I try not to flatten the edges because I think the very edge is where you want it to be kind of nice and puffy and crusty if you can. It will be nice and crusty all the way through the bottom, but I kind of pat it down pretty evenly in the middle, but try not to push the edges too much. And there it is, ready to go. And now for the other fun part, just topping your pizza. I like lots of toppings on my pizza, so I keep the bottom reasonably thick, not too thick, but thick enough to hold up everything I put on it. Make it however you want. This is just a guide. I use onion, capsicum, olives, a few different things. We usually make our pizzas vegetarian. It's just how we like them. Yeah, top your pizza with whatever you like. That's the fun part about pizza, I guess. You can make it however you want to. Getting those olives on there, you can tell I really like olives. And then for the final touch, I just use a bit of cashew cheesy sauce stuff that I make. I'll put the recipe for that in the description box as well. You can obviously use cheese if you want to. This is just what we do. It's a nice kind of cheesy sauce made with cashews and a little bit of oregano on the top, bit of garlic, whatever you like. And the pizza is ready to go. You don't have to prove this anymore. Just put it straight into the oven after you've put the toppings on and bake it for 15 to 20 minutes at 250, and you'll probably want to turn the pizza halfway just to make sure that it cooks evenly. My oven certainly needs that. And then your pizza is done. It's beautiful and crispy. I usually put it on a cooling rack just for a couple of minutes just to make sure the bottom steam comes off it a little bit so the bottom stays nice and crispy, and then I put it on my board to cut it. This is just the easiest way that I've found to do it. you may have better pizza skills than I do. Yeah, and then just get a sharp knife or whatever you use. You can hear the crunching even though that's sped up. It's a really nice crunchy pizza. I do cook mine fairly well just to make sure it's really crunchy. That's important. And there you have it. It's a bit hard to tell from there. I will have some better shots in a second. I'm burning my hands with that pizza, so I couldn't hold it too well. But there you have it. Sourdough pizza. Really easy to do. It's absolutely delicious. Have a try, have a play around with it. Just use a bit of bread dough. Use whatever you can. It's really, really great food and it's so healthy. And this one's pretty lean. That's one I made with bread flour just to show you. And the next photo is one that I think had a little bit of whole wheat and a little bit of bread flour. So they all turn out good. Just tweak it according to your ingredients and have fun with it. It's a really fun thing to make. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the description box. I've got more stuff there.